the girl of your dreams, 'cause I've been rocking and dodging the beat of love. Baby, I'm not the one for you. I'm not letting you on 'cause you know my truth, but I know just what to do for you, 'cause when that Jones come down, hey, na 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 na, hey, ooh, na 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 na. When that Jones come down, hey, nothing you can do about it, hey, ooh, na 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 na.
Good evening, and welcome to My Sister Circle. I am your host, Coach D, and I'm excited to be here today. I am not going to raise my voice today. I'm really going to talk at a really low tone. So the excitement that I feel, I promise you, is there, is there, is there. I do have my co-host with me. Oh, you here? All right. So if O is not on yet or she can't hear me, guys, welcome to My Sister Circle. We are excited that we come on every Thursday at 7 p.m. Hey, oh, how are you?
Hey sis, I'm here. How you doing?
I am good. How was your week?
This week has flown by and I'm most grateful. It's been a good week.
Because you just came from off vacation. So tell
I
us a little bit
did.
about vacation.
I missed the sun, I missed the sand, I missed the weather. Went there
Mhm.
to do a wedding. Um, and it was beautiful and I felt very honored and she was an absolutely lovely bride.
She was absolutely gorgeous. I mean,
Yes.
they complimented each other so very well.
Aren't
So
they beautiful
congratulations.
together?
Congratulations, Alicia and Cedric, correct?
Uh-huh.
Congratulations, Alicia and Cedric. You guys looked amazing. Your wedding, from what I've seen, it was just absolutely gorgeous. So I know that was a beautiful time. And you guys were on a cruise ship, correct?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, beautiful. Just beautiful, just beautiful, just beautiful. So guys, um, I know it's been a while since we kind of wait, has it been a while? No, we just haven't been here in a week, right? It's just been a week.
Just a week.
Okay. So, guys, if you are familiar with our show, then you know that right now what we want you to do is we want you guys to like, share, and invite, tag people in, get people tagged in, get people tagged in. We do have a very special guest co-host with us today. She'll be on shortly. Coach Rowe, and you guys know Rashonda, and she was on with us a couple weeks ago, and we are excited to discuss this topic with you guys. Listen, guys, I got my tea right here because I suffered like this some sore vocal cords, some bruised vocal cords and things. So I've been without a voice, and it's been off and on cracking and all kind of stuff. But God seen fit for me to have a voice on today. When I promise you, doing
Yay.
work, it just kind of came back. And Charlie don't like how I sound, but he is praying for my voice to come back in full totality. So thank you, Charlie, for praying, even though, I sound a little different, but it's okay. As long as I had a clear voice to make sure that we went on today, because guys, I was going to come on and I was just kind of just going to be here. And I was like, I can't talk ladies, but that's just what it is. So I had a backup plan. I was just going to be here, but I am so glad that I'm able to actually speak because, my voice is my weapon. So I got to protect it at all costs.
I
You
like
know,
that. My voice is my weapon. I love that.
it is for sure my weapon. All right, guys.
Hmm.
So we are going to get into our next segment, which we do every week. So, guys, I want you guys to go ahead and tag in about 5 people if you guys are tuned in. I know it's Cinco de Mayo Day. You guys are out partying and having a good time and fellowshipping, right?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
I like
Yes.
that
When you
fellowshipping. Yes.
they fellowshipping, yeah, everybody
Yeah.
out fellowshipping and having a good old time. So what I want you guys to do, okay, Coach Rowe, when you get a chance, you can go ahead and log in, and Charlie will let you in. But when you guys get a chance, share, tag in some people, get these people on because our topic today is what's our topic? Oh,
It is forgiving and healing.
y'all know how God always do me. God always do me like, okay, when you dealing with something, that's what, 9 times out of 10, we gonna talk about that. That's how God always do me. So forget so Charlie, Ro is on. Just to let you know, she's been on, she said for a while now. Not sure. But so we'll go to our sister of the week. We'll get that taken care of and we'll get Ro on, okay? Charlie.
All right, everybody, it's our favorite part of the show, and our sister of the week is Camille Adrian. So, a little bit about Camille. Camille and I just so happened to be on vacation together last week when I was absent from the show. And Camille and I grew up in church together, but I've never had the opportunity to actually talk to one another in detail, more so like a hi, bye, how are you type situation. But we were able to sit down and have a really beautiful conversation with each other. And I will not disclose what the conversation was about because that's our business, but it was very, very moving for me and very inspirational. So I thought about that conversation traveling back home, and I thought about her throughout the week and this week, and I said, yeah, Camille is my sister of the week. So Camille, if you see this, and I'm going to tag you again publicly, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you. I think you are a beautiful woman, and I think you have such beautiful gifts and power inside of you. And again, like I told you when I saw you in text, I cannot wait to see what God does in your life. And thank you for being so transparent and lovely whilst we were vacationing together. So thank you. And she's our sister of the week.
So Camille, huh? Listen,
Yes.
when you sent me that sister of the week, I was just too geeked that you had chose Camille for sister of the week.
Yes, you were.
I, I really was because I
Yeah.
really, you know how you're not expecting to see someone's name and then you see that person's name and then you just remember all the amazing things that person that person gives. That person is just an amazing person, and her spirit is just so amazing, so genuine, has
Yes.
always been so genuine and so sweet. And I just the resilience, just whew,
Yes.
I
And so
mean,
much, like I'm going to say this, and I don't mean it to be offensive, and I'm not taking away from any of the young ladies in our age demographic, but I think certain women have a grace about them and a poise about them. And Camille definitely has grace
mm-hmm,
and poise to her. And in talking to her, I just kind of looked at her and I was like, I feel like I'm talking to like a political figure. You know what I mean? Because
right,
she's so sturdy in what
yeah,
she's saying. Have you ever talked to someone and they're saying something and they say it with confidence, but the confidence is calm? It was just
I know,
beautiful. The conversation was beautiful. And I left thinking, God, I wish I wouldn't have been like such a dork and so shy growing up, and I would have branched out and actually took the opportunity to talk to her more. But better late than never. I think as adults, I can appreciate her much more now. And I will never forget the conversation because it was just, she was lovely. It was lovely. And it was much needed. Much needed.
yeah, I yeah, I would. I'm sure that conversation was absolutely beautiful. So, real
Yeah.
quick, we're gonna go to commercial so that we can get Coach Rowe on. Um, Charlie, you can actually play any commercial that you have available. Since I did not send you any commercials, yeah, I got to do better because I just be leaving Charlie pretty much hanging, just like Charlie, just make it work. That's how I be. Perfect. Go to commercial and then bring in Ro, okay?
Hi, I'm Crystal of Crystal Robertson State Farm right here in Motown. And I have a few questions for you. Are your assets protected? What type of legacy are you leaving behind? And do you really know your coverages? If you struggle to answer any of those questions, we need to talk. We offer home, business, auto, and life insurance, just to name a few. Give us a call at 313-340-9000, or you can stop by our office at 7100 West 7 Mile. And don't forget to follow our social media pages at Crystal Serves Motown.
Hey, Ro.
Hey.
Well, hey, hey, I was sitting.
Hey.
Can y'all hear
Well,
me?
that hat is rather fly.
Thank you. Look, honey, because look, just permed that hair. You know, the natural is just sitting there chilling. I said, well, I guess it's a hat day.
It's a beautiful hat day. Okay, let me borrow that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Let me borrow that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So today's topic is on forgiveness and healing. Actually, Ro, how's your week been? I'm sorry.
My week has been, let's be honest, it's been a little up and down, ins and outs, and tries to be all around that. But I still made it. I'm still yet here.
We're glad to see. We're glad that you're here. We welcome you
I love
anytime.
it.
We are so glad. I am so glad that
goodness.
you, although it was last minute, you said yes to you said yes to the call, as you always do, and I appreciate you for that, my sister. I truly do. Okay. All right. So the topic on today is on forgiveness and healing. When that topic came about, the topic came about from a coworker actually. So God had dealt with me on some things about forgiveness just in the last couple weeks, just some things that I had personally to forgive some people about. And so he dealt with me about that. And then I was talking to a coworker and she just walked up to me and was like, forgiveness. She said forgiveness. And when she said forgiveness, God said and healing, because they together, right? So it's always like this personal journey that God takes me on when he's dealing with us and content. And it's not just me. A lot of times it's a personal journey for her when God is choosing some content for us. It's a personal journey for, other co-hosts that we are on with. And a lot of times for our viewers that we have that watch us all the time, it's like these are the things that they're dealing with. And it's not something that we know already. It's just whatever God says do, we just follow suit, right? So forgiveness and healing is such an awesome yet delicate topic, because let's be honest, a lot of times we have a hard time not only forgiving others but forgiving ourselves, right?
Right.
So if you had to kind of think about something in your life. Now, this is an impromptu question because it's not on this list that we already have, right? But if you had to think about something, one of the hardest things that you had to forgive someone for, can you honestly say that it's already been completed, like you've already forgiven them for it? And then can you kind of tell us a little bit, not about the situation, but how it affected you? Anybody can start.
For me,
Yeah.
for me, recently just went through something that was a major, without sharing everything, that was major and close and dear to my heart. Some things came about and some things were shared, and just being able to vet some things out, get to come to my own conclusion based on the facts, because I don't like dealing with hearsay. Let me get to the facts. So when facts came about, I would have to say the thought process of forgiving The forgiveness is there. However, I'm learning and needing God to process me through how to navigate now. How does this relationship move forward? What does that look like?
What does that look
Is
like?
there a connection there, or is there a disconnection with still a connection, not so much, so to speak? So it's almost like God is processing me through that. It's some highs and low days. Some days is better than others, but it's I'm allowing Him to do it because I've never been here. So,
Mm-hmm.
and when it's somebody that's close to you, um, you don't want to just be abrupt. But because of my who I am abrupt when things take place, and when you feel like some things have been betrayed or some things that have crossed your limit of loyalty, your ability
Ooh,
to
wee.
stick and stay. You have a responsibility. I think it was Pastor Teray Roberts that said something. There are limits or time limits on loyalty. And
That's
that is
right.
something I've not allowed myself to do because I am a loyalist to the day I die. So it's not easy for me because I can cut you off really easy. That's not the problem. But when it's somebody that's really close to you or you have history and you're looking like life without them, what does that look like? Then you have to identify really where you are and what you're willing to let go and the cost of that.
Mm. That's deep. Oh, you got something?
I needed a minute to like digest what she said. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have dealt with that and had an experience a few years ago. And forgiveness was the furthest thing from my mind. I didn't want to think about forgiving. I didn't even want to hear the word forgive because I was still stuck in the how could you phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but once I really started to understand what forgiveness was going to do for me internally, I started trying to quickly figure out ways how I could make myself whole because I felt like when someone betrays you, whether it's friend, whether it's family, it literally feels like someone takes your heart out of your body and rips it apart. And that is such a drastic example, but for me that's what it felt like,
It's
so
not,
that's the only way I
girl.
can
That's
say
not
it.
drastic at
That's
You
all.
a
know,
great
it
example.
feels like you're gutted, like the person literally opened you up, took your heart and just, like how those super strong guys can hold pieces of fruit and they just crack it. That's what I felt like happened to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I felt so like numb, I'm taking care of my kids, feeling numb, not really like knowing what I'm doing, going through the motions. And I was like, God, something is wrong. And in order for me to come back to who Orion is, what do I do? And I remember going to church and sobbing uncontrollably. And I kept hearing, you have to forgive. And I was so pissed that that's the word that God chose to give me. And I was like, no, we are not forgiving. We are holding a grudge. This is absolutely revolting. There is no forgiveness in this area. But for every time I said that back to God, he was like, okay, then stay in bondage and stay depressed. Like,
Mm.
okay. And I was just like, these are the struggles and conversations that I would have with God concerning the matter. Or anytime I feel like unforgiveness is not inside of me, he's like, okay, continue to rot because unforgiveness is rotting from the inside out.
That's right.
So, in order for me not to rot, I had to forgive.
Mm.
I think for me, just to interject with the forgiveness piece, the forgiving part is not that hard because I can just be like, okay, but It's the navigating of the
Yeah.
forgiveness. What does
Yeah.
Yeah.
forgiveness entail? So am I coming back in a relationship and are we being cool again? What does forgiveness entail? And I think a lot of times people wrap forgiveness up in restoration. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that that's always the case.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
don't either. It's not
No.
always the case.
No, forgiveness does not equal restoration. I think
It does
people
not.
forget that forgiveness, like, I'm a big advocate on I can forgive you, but that does not mean that we have to come back together. Forgiveness
Absolutely.
is an individual journey of healing so that I can move forward in my life. But that absolutely does not mean that we need to come back together. And that doesn't mean that in my forgiving that I am talking bad about you, or when your name comes up, I'm rolling my eyes and sucking my teeth. Forgiveness and not coming back together is me being able to hear your name, being able to think on the situation, and then to laugh and say, God, look at the deliverance you gave me pertaining to this situation. That's
That's
Uh-huh.
what
good.
healing and forgiving is for me. But there is no restoration over here.
So for me, uh, in certain situations, there's no restoration. Um, Depending on who the person is, depending on what our relationship is, the dynamics of our relationship, there could be, possibly no restoration. And I've had relationships that has closed out completely with there was nothing. And I'm with forgiveness used to be furthest from my mind. Like, forget what? Well then, yes. And I'm gonna be the first to say, well, it would be like this. Well, then hell I go, because it's not happening. That would be me. Okay. It really it.
Not the hell I go,
I
sis.
can't. I couldn't say
It's
I
what
want to go to hell, no D. I can't.
I did.
I want to go
Listen,
to hell.
Lord.
this took this. I'm when I say I'm serious, it took me some years of growth and time for real with God, and understanding, in my case, that my health was at jeopardy. Not only my health, but my relationship with my children was at jeopardy, because I was so bitter, and I had so much unforgiveness, and it was either it was a life or death thing for me. So it had to come there. And unfortunately, I'm that person. I don't always like that I'm that person where it's like life or death. It's like, you get your butt whooped or you get it like this. But for me, that's what it is. And it was very hard for me to be able to forgive. So like I said, I'm with O on that. Forgiveness was really, really a hard thing for me. Now, after just some growth and my relationship that has evolved with God, I know how to forgive much easier now. And just, I always say my cutoff game is just real strong, to the point where
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, I need somebody that's going to balance me out, that be like, okay, D, you can't, sis, you listen, your cutoff game can't be
Yeah.
that. You got to give some people some grace. And that's just,
Mhm.
it's like there's no in between. I know I need some in between, but it's just like not there yet, so I'm working on that part of, nah, it's just like, it's over for you. It's either I'm gonna forgive and we gonna still kick it, or it's like, nah, I can't bang with you no more. I'm through. You cut for real all the way. And for that part of forgiveness used to be, like I said, very hard for me. It wasn't until I experienced what real healing was, that process, that beginning process. And let me tell you, without us getting too far into that healing part, that healing process, that's not no,
That's no
that's not
joke.
a part. That's a
Not for the
Mm-mm.
weak.
break you to your knees. You know what I'm saying? You have to really know for sure that this is what you
Mm-hmm.
want to do. This is where you're going to stand. You are going to for real forgive this person and begin that healing process, because once you begin that healing process, it's real deep from there. It's real deep.
Yeah.
And like Rose said, that navigating part, once you begin that healing process, because now you're processing everything that happened, you're processing, what did I do to deserve this? You're processing so many things. So now that healing process is deep, and it ain't for the weak at all. So if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
It's a real test of everything.
Everything. It's life or death. Like I said, for me, it's life or death.
It is.
So,
That is probably the most uncomfortable, but we'll move to the next.
So we'll start with, why is forgiveness important before healing? I know we kind of touched on it already, but why is it important before healing? Oh, we'll start with you.
So for me, and this is like my mantra in my life, everything that stifles my freedom, I have to get rid of, right? To me, freedom is the ultimate thing. Freedom from things that hold me down, negative thoughts, people that have hurt me. And I don't like to do anything that compromises my freedom mentally or emotionally. So in order for me to fly free constantly, I have to be in a place where I'm able to forgive people who maybe are not even worthy of my forgiveness, because that is a hindrance on how I'm able to navigate in my life. I can't be the person that I am. I can't have the personality I have. I can't love people the way I want to love them if I am holding on to something that has hurt me and I'm not capable of forgiving. So it's all about being free from those things. And I don't want anything that holds me down, that pulls at my heart or my mind, that will not allow me to function the way that I need to in life. So that's why forgiveness is important for me.
Okay. Ro?
Similar to well, for me, forgiveness, because I do believe I got too much in my own life I need forgiveness from, and tomorrow I can mess up, so I need the forgiveness. So let me drop the charges against you. Let me forgive you. Watch that thing. However, the healing process, I do have to put up on the shelf sometimes, like the process that I'm going through now. I have so many other things. I got to be a wife, I'm in church, I'm a leader, I'm doing all these different things. I'm a caregiver, I'm doing all these different things. So right now I don't have time to the process of the healing yet, because I got so much other stuff. And when I heal, I really want to heal. So I need to give time and space for that. So now when I pick it up off the shelf and say, Lord, now I'm ready, do it, because ain't nothing else distracting me. Nothing else is going on. And it's always gonna be something going on. But when you make it a priority to heal, because sometimes you go into existing mode, right? Everybody, oh, you a mom, you working, you different, this and the DU too. Sometimes you go into that existing mode, you just do your day to day. And then you realize, okay, I need to pick this up because I'm not healed yet. So now let's go through the process. So now that's where I'm at. It's sitting on the shelf right now, because I honestly, and this is my honest statement, I don't even know how I feel. I don't have a real answer for that. I don't, because it's so crazy. It's just out of this world crazy. I was taken back. So I don't know how to feel right now. So I'm trying to process. If I don't do that, then that's going to be a problem. I need to process the truth of how I feel. So understanding how I really feel, then I could pick it up brick by brick. Okay, now let's deal with this layer. So that's how I process.
And that's true, because there's a lot of times where I just say, oh no, I'm just not ready to deal with that. I'm just not ready for that yet. And I think that acknowledging that and making sure that, that's that, knowing that that's okay to say, I'm just not ready to do that yet. That is okay. Right. It's okay. What's not okay is to harbor it, for years and never, like you said, never pick it back up. But it is okay to sit it on the shelf and say, I'll come back to this, because I promise you, there is so many times where I just be like, I'm just not ready. I just wasn't ready. And it's that simple for me. But it didn't always used to be that simple for me. So acknowledging your feelings, you got to always acknowledge your feelings and say, well, this is how I feel, but I'm not ready to deal with that yet. Because dealing with your feelings, like I said, processing that healing, that's a total different ball game.
It's different.
And you
it's
don't
different
always
for everybody.
know how to process those feelings. You don't always know. You can acknowledge, all right, let me acknowledge that I am hurt. I am angry about this. I am bothered about this. Okay. And maybe I am dealing with some unforgiveness right now about this. But hold on. Let me set this to the side right now, because, like you said, everyday life. And you can't be bombarded and overwhelmed with everything else and then try. Because for me, my emotions will take over if I'm overwhelmed with everything, right? And once my emotions take over, then I blow up. And the blow up is not what I'm looking for. That's because that gets no answers, right? So I'm not looking to blow up on the situation. I really want it to be resolved. I really want to resolve my feelings with the situation. But sometimes you just don't know how to process that hurt, that anger, that numbness. Okay, because the numbness, when you don't know how to process that numbness, you don't even know what that looks like to process that type of feeling. Because guess what? Most of the time, you ain't never been through it before.
Exactly.
So you don't even know how to process it. So acknowledging your feelings is really important. And that part of the forgiveness and healing part. So I don't want us to stay on each topic too long, because then we won't get through our list. But
can I just say one other thing real quick?
Of course, go ahead.
Just to say, you have got, I know in the African American community, we don't talk about mental health a lot. But if your mental health cannot handle taking it off the shelf in this season, leave it on the shelf until you're ready. And it's okay to do, because I chose my mental health over dealing with that. I had to.
Absolutely.
Now, okay. Now let me ask you a question. Any event that it's someone very close to you, even in your household, right? That has hurt you in a way where you still have to deal with them on an everyday basis. What do you do then?
For myself,
what would be, okay,
go ahead. For
no,
me,
I was gonna ask you, what would you do?
How I handle it, shoot, me and Tony, we can have a little spits back today, we don't want to talk to you tomorrow. However, I understand, I look at destiny, I look at longevity, I look at all of that to say, is this that important to not continue? If it's not that important, then I can put that on the shelf, and me and you can talk about that in a week or whenever we do bring it back, because I'm a communicator. I don't allow stuff to stay long. So especially if I got to live with you, that's got to be dealt with immediately, almost, right? So I will have to process through it, make sure that my word choice, because that's something I've had to work on, my tone, my word choice are going to be on point before I come back to talk. Before I'm able to process through that, I got to make sure that I am in a state of receptivity, not just me communicating. That's important. So once I'm there, especially being in the same household, then I'm ready. If I'm not there, then I may still have to say, Tony, can you give me a pause? Give me a minute.
And the same for me, because I'll pause in a hot second. Psst, everything is paused, okay? And y'all both know I'm the pause queen. Everything is paused. Whole life. I don't want to talk. I don't want to. Everything is paused.
Yeah.
And I'm working on it. But sometimes I really can't. I just really can't. Husband, children. Everything be on pause. Listen, nope. I'll. And Roa tell you, it'll be like this, y'all. God have to speak to me himself loudly. Do it, daughter, now. For for me to get it on pause.
Right now.
Push that
Then
button.
she
Right
get
now,
her lips
okay?
like that. Then she like this.
Okay, I'm serious. And I'm working on it. But so Erica asked a really good question, and I wanna make sure that we touch on this question real quick. She said, "What about when you're immune to the numbness?" Somebody answer.
I
Woo!
I identify with that.
Girl, me too. That's why I can't
And
answer. I gotta listen.
Let me take a deep breath. I'm assuming when you say immune to the numbness, meaning like you just after something is done, you just don't have the energy to feel it. And I've been there. But what I'm going to say to Erica is this, and I mean it with so much love because I had to check myself. That is not a healthy place to be in. When you get to a point that people can offend you and you become immune to it so much. Now, there's a difference between letting something roll off your back because it's silly and insignificant and then becoming so stoic that you are just completely not feeling anything and nothing is penetrating. That means my favorite thing in Stars and Stripes, it's time to go to therapy, love bug, because I had to do the same thing. The moment that I felt like nothing was penetrating me and I felt like it's okay, it just happened and I'm over it, that's not a healthy place. That means that some serious damage has taken place in your heart and in your soul. And it is time to heal your soul. You don't ever want to let anybody get you to a point in life where you can't feel anything because feelings are beautiful. Every emotion we go through, God created every emotion for us to feel. That includes hurt. That includes sadness. That includes joy. That includes everything. You should be able to feel every single scope of feelings. So if you are feeling like you don't have nothing hitting you, it's time to do some different type of work. Because I did it.
That is true. All right, so we are going to go over so real quick, we're gonna go through some stages of forgiveness. If you guys want to stop and touch on them, after I go over the stages of forgiveness, we'll go ahead and talk about how to actually forgive yourself. Okay. So, or do you guys want to go into how to forgive yourself first before I go over the stages of forgiveness? How you want to do it?
I guess we could go over how do you forgive yourself. Yeah.
All right, go ahead. So how do you forgive yourself? Go ahead, somebody.
I think it's by, especially depending on what the severity, not severity, but depending on what it is. Don't ever take accountability for somebody else's crazy actions. Like, don't ever let anybody take you to a point where it's like, well, I guess it was my fault. And maybe I didn't do this enough, or maybe I wasn't that enough, or maybe I didn't look like this, or that is not your fault, sis, bro. Okay. None of that is your fault. So we're not going to take people's bad behavior as an excuse and change it for the hurt that they've caused us. Forgiveness of yourself is being able to identify their shortcomings and your shortcomings in the matter, but we are never taking responsibility for someone's bad behavior or their actions. Every pot sits on its own bottom, and every bottom has a choice as to how you navigate through tough times. And if your way of navigation is you decide to cheat or lie, that's because you have no self-control, and that has absolutely nothing to do with you as an individual. That has something to do with them, not you. So don't ever take the onus as to say you're the reason why it happened. That has nothing to do with you. That's how you start to forgive yourself, is realize that's their garbage, not yours.
All right,
And
Ralph.
flip side of what O was saying, I totally understand what she's saying as well. But for myself, I always have to do self-reflection first. Whatever the situation is going on, okay, they may have wronged me, but is there a role that I played? Not me taking what they did as my own, but no, is there some piece in there that role play? And that's the first step I do. And if it's not, okay, good. But if it is, then I own it. I own that, whether through communicating it or just own it with myself, because so I can become better, because I'm not always right. And that's okay. And I got work on that. That spirit of perfection to come upon you like you got everything all together. I'm the one in my circle or my family, they may look at me as the strong one, right? But I have bad days. I have those days when I'm crying, when I'm weak, when I need somebody to hold my hands up, right? So sometimes, even forgiving yourself enough to say that I'm not perfect and be okay with that and be able to process through that. But my first step is look inside, know, and do not beat myself up. I have been that person all my life. I'm my own worst critic. Don't nobody else need to beat me up, because Rashana done did enough of it behind the scenes. So learning to give myself grace, learning that I'm not perfect and give myself grace, that's helped me and is still yet helping me process through forgiving myself.
So for me, it's the same thing. Self-reflection. I used to be I would point the finger in situations versus taking accountability for maybe what I've brought to the table or what I've caused, the actions that I could have caused for the situation happening. And not taking on their things and what they did, because I learned quick that no, I'm not gonna take yours on. I already got enough of my own, so I learned that very quickly. But just definitely assessing what I did, what my and I'm an accountability person. I try to hold myself accountable, because that's not something that I did, growing up. I didn't hold myself accountable. But I want to say, the biggest situation, one of the biggest situations that happened was the infidelity between with me and my husband. And when that happened, I remember a particular day that God told me, He made me sit down and listen to what my husband was saying to me. And after maybe months and months of pointing my finger at him, like, you hurt me, you betrayed me, blah 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 blah, he made me sit down and actually hear what my husband said. And it was like a mirror was in front of my face, right? And as this mirror was in front of my face, God was speaking to me. And not only was God speaking to me, but He was allowing me to hear my husband, hear him, right? And the things that he was saying, it was so ugly. And so God was showing me myself, but the image was just disgusting, right? Because it was so many things that what my husband was saying to me that I never accepted until that day. And it was like, okay, this is where God dealt with me for real, dealt with me on accountability and always assessing what I've done first, right? Not to say that he didn't hurt me, not to say that he didn't betray me, but there was also some things that I had to be accountable for as well. And in being accountable for those things, now I had to forgive myself, because for the enemy came in and said, well, this is why it happened, because of those things that that was just shared. So this is why he cheated. This is why. So all those things happen, and I had to really forgive myself and say, no, it didn't happen because of that. But I heard you. I heard you. And now I have to be accountable for my own actions. And I think a lot of times when people hurt us real bad, the first thing we do is like, we point that finger at them, right? And in some situations, it is just them. It is just them. But in some situations, we have to be accountable for the things that we did. Sometimes it's even being accountable for accepting the abuse that they was given.
Mm-hmm.
And we just was blindsided to it. We covered our eyes to the abuse for so
That's
long,
good.
right? So we got to be accountable for all of those things. And a lot of times we don't like to be accountable for those things. We just gonna point.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So we can move on unless anybody want to. Okay. Because that conversation can go on for a long time. So So now that we spilled over into how to forgive someone who hurt you, anybody want to touch on that? Because I'm gonna tell y'all how I forgave. Starting off, I'll say with my husband, how I forgave my husband. You know what? I'll go deep. I'll go as deep as forgiving my parents. You know, because there was some things that I had to forgive my parents for just some things that happened in my upbringing that I really had to forgive for. And
Yeah.
I'll start with my dad without sharing too much. I mean, I've talked about it before, but without going back into that. Those things were, traumatic growing up. So forgiving him was understanding that he was not only human, but his mistake was made, and it wasn't well, he's my dad, so I'm just gonna get over it. It wasn't that. It wasn't one of those things, because I think that doing that leaves this hole of anger that you just don't know is there. So you really got to deal with it in a way. So for him, I had to forgive him in life lessons of my own, if that makes any sense. And seeing that these were some mistakes that he made. He wasn't perfect, but I had to understand that he did grow. And so for that, that's where, I was able to forgive. Like, okay, I see what life can do to you. I see how life can make you kind of just this person that you really didn't want to be. I see how generational things can make you the way that, this person that you really didn't want to be. And same for my mom. Some things that I just felt like, oh, that you should have left that situation. So, and got us out of that situation. It really took for me to live my own life to realize sometimes you can't escape those situations the way that a child think you can escape those situations. So for me, I had to forgive her in those places and say, well, my mom had me at 16. And maybe her mental state wasn't what I wanted it to be, or what I think it should have been. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just giving y'all that without giving too much of their personal stories, because those are their stories, and I didn't ask for permission on this show to give those details. And then, like with my marriage, listen, that took a long time. That took a long time, and there's still some trigger moments. There's still some bruising there, and I say this with a smile, that my forgiveness in that situation is in our transparent friendship, if that makes sense to y'all. And that's just that. So forgiving him was one of the hardest things I ever had to do.
Yeah.
All right. I ain't crying today. So next.
Don't cry, sis.
I'm not. So how do you guys forgive someone? I know you guys touched on it a little bit, but how do you guys forgive someone who really hurt you? And we got 2 minutes each that can talk.
Look, I'm like,
I guess same. Yeah.
Man, listen. And they out here talking about they can't hear. They don't realize we just kind of muted.
Right. They're like, they're not saying anything. No, it took me a long time to forgive that situation. Coming out of a difficult marriage with some very uncomfortable situations that transpired. And I'm just going to say thank God for forgiveness. Thank God, because I got a glimpse of what I could be had I not chosen to. And I think that is the thing that always scared me. God deals with me in a funny way. And when I saw what unforgiveness could look like on me physically, I always tell people that I have to conduct myself a certain way because I have to stay not only in a mental place for myself, but I owe it to my children. And forgiveness is not just for you. I think forgiveness also covers your household and things that will
Girl,
happen
you
in
better
your
say that.
household. Okay. So for me, forgiveness had to take place and I had to learn. It took me a minute, but I had to really thrust myself into it because I didn't want it to negatively impact my home or the work that I was doing on myself as I was going through the process of divorce or affect my children. And I was like, God, I don't want them to see their mother broken down and this hard-hearted, bitter woman. I didn't want my boys, I have all boys. I didn't want them, I didn't want their image of women to be that. And I'm like, if I am to turn this around, I've got to forgive. And I've got to make this good again, no matter how uncomfortable this is. And I'm going to tell you, the only thing I literally could do was pray. I fasted, I prayed, I did the Daniel fast for 3 months. I finished the first round and hopped right back on that train and went right back because I felt like I just needed God to cleanse me every area of me. If I was really going to forgive and not just profess it with my mouth, but to mean that thing, the 70 times 7. I remember hearing it in church. I almost got up and left church and started cussing because I said the devil is 70 times 7. What you said?
Ooh, that's me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, I said I'm not getting ready to do bleepity bleep, and I almost got up and left because okay, violence is the answer. Knuck if you buck. That's how I felt back then.
you see, that's where
But
I
I was like, okay. That's why I had to jump on that Daniel fast, y'all, because my mind was bad. But I had to pull it in because I was like, no, 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 no. But honestly, that's what worked for me. I had to pray. I had to fast. My grandmother used to pray over me. My mother used to pray over me. I really had to just give that thing to God. I had to lay it at the altar. Snot, nose, tears at the altar. That's all that was going to work for me.
Oh, I was ready, locked and loaded at all times.
Yeah.
Say one wrong word, and it's going.
If you blink too hard, baby, it's over.
You breathe. If I put my finger under
Yes.
your nose and you breathing at this time, you got to die today. That's how I felt. Cause I just was like, this cannot be happening. Locked and loaded all day. I'ma tell y'all this, right? And then we gotta move on because we got 3 minutes before Charlie. Bro, do you want to answer this question?
Go ahead. I've already answered it earlier.
Listen, my husband said he had to start sleeping with that pistol under his pillowcase because he said he knew.
Y'all was about to chitty chitty bang bang wild wild west.
Let me tell you something. We was about to. Whoever survived it. Whoever survived it, okay? The real wild wild west.
Oh my God. Oh Jesus, that's real. I feel that.
Said,
that's real.
That's real.
He said he
That's
wasn't
real.
going down without a fight, so it was happening. And what you say, it was violence was the answer? I was feeling that way.
Yeah,
violence.
violence
is the answer.
Look, razor
All
blades
right.
and lemon juice. You hear me?
Okay.
Beating you in your sleep.
Let me tell you something. Just don't eat my dinner. You hungry? It don't matter. Don't eat my dinner because you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna survive this. All right. So we got
Oh my god.
now that all right. But I've been delivered, and me and my husband, we are that's my dude, okay? Like my homie. Okay. We have our
And you can
falling
tell
outs,
too. You can tell.
but that's that we can tell our story because for real, we went through some things, but now we our transparent conversations and our realness with one another, it has come a long way. Cause sis over here couldn't take much after that. You can imagine. So it wasn't much I could take. I was on edge every day. What you tell me? You gotta always put my cake back on me because I was ready to throw it down or
Always,
fly right
always
off the mountain.
off the cliff. I'm just be like, the wine,
But
don't jump
but
off
I
the
am.
cliff.
But
Whew.
listen, God is yet working on me, and me and that dude, we are tight. Okay, we have our falling outs, and we be right back. Roby like, I don't even take y'all serious no more. I
Listen, I can't because listen, this is my mental health. I have to protect my mental health. I can't let somebody
Right.
take me out. No, this is my mental health. I told her, listen, no, I can't do it. Right. No.
Yes.
All right, so let me give y'all
Protect.
our real question, our last question of the night, and then I'll run through the stages of forgiveness and healing before Charlie cuts the plug on us. All right,
Mm.
so this is the deepest question to me. This is a really deep question because oof um oof Lord, really.
Oh goodness.
All right, forgiving God when our loved ones die or when we think God is the cause of something bad in our lives.
Mm.
How do we? Yeah, that.
Whew.
Yeah. I mean, it's. We spoke about it,
It's
Charlie,
real.
but the people still ask those. This is questions that my son has this question. You know what I'm saying? I know people that has lost loved ones that has this. This is a genuine, legit question. How do I forgive God when somebody that I love dies or when a bad situation happened and I think God is the cause of it? No matter if he's the God is not looking to, and that's just a different topic. But what do you
Yeah.
do in those situations? How do you learn to forgive God? How do you learn to profess that you're angry with him because he's God, right? And you don't want to just be like, I'm pissed off. So I had to tell my son, you got to tell God that you're angry with him.
Absolutely.
I'm not telling you that you have to
Good.
do it now, but your Sophie is gone. She is. And you have to tell God that when you're ready, because I'm not going to rush him to do that. But when
Yeah.
you're ready, tell God that you're angry with him. Because say,
Yeah.
God, we had a relationship. What happened? You
Mm.
have to be real
Yeah.
with him. So I don't have a real answer for that. And I don't know if any of the ladies here have an answer. Do we have an answer for that? Charlie talked to us earlier about it, but I'm not, I understood what Charlie said, but the answer has to be a little bit more simple for people that don't have a relationship with God like that we have with God, right? So
Yeah.
so what do I do? How do I profess my emotions to God and say, listen, you took this person from me? Because that's what they're feeling like, right? You took this
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
from me
And you didn't have to because you're God. You could have
and
healed
you
them.
didn't
You could
have
have
to.
stopped it. It's yeah. That's a real conversation. I think no one wants to say that we're angry with God or think I don't forgive him and things of that nature. I would love to hear from somebody who has really legitimately gone through that. You know, I've lost my father. That was a tough situation, right? But I can't say that I just didn't have forgiveness for God or I blamed him or whatever. But it's a process, right? But I would
Yeah.
love to hear from somebody who legitimately had some time of anger towards him, some true ingrained unforgiveness. And how do they process through that? Because that's a real emotion. And I don't want to
Yeah.
discredit that.
Yeah. And it is a real emotion.
Yeah.
It
I
is.
experienced
Because
that when my dad passed away. He and I'll make it brief, but he passed away and I was 17 years old. And I absolutely at that time in my life hated God. Didn't want to go to church, didn't want to hear my mom say anything because I just did not understand why God could not heal him and why he took him faster than I could blink. It was absolutely devastating, even to think about it now. And even going through the process and understanding why things happen the way they happen. At the time, there was nothing you could tell me about church. There was nothing you could tell me about God's plan or his perfect will. I did not want to hear it because that was it for me,
yeah,
being a young girl. The only thing I can tell somebody going through that now is go through the process because that's what it
mm,
is. There's going to be anger. There's going to be resentment. You are absolutely unequivocally going to hate God. You're not going to want to hear anything he has to say or anything anybody else has to say. And you don't know what the plan was or what the purpose was of God allowing that to happen. But as the process goes, there is some type of connection that takes place. Something happens in prayer. Something happens when you are downtrodden and depressed and lonely and suicidal and just don't even know why the situation happened. There is some type of aha light bulb moment that takes place. And it didn't happen
mm,
overnight for me. My dad has been deceased for over 20, almost 20 years. And I
mm.
literally just am starting to understand it maybe after the first 15 years why it happened. So that's a very real thing. And it's hard and it takes time. It takes a lot of time.
Right.
All right. Well, this was a great show. I'm gonna read over some stages of forgiveness real quick before Charlie, of course, pull the plug on us. So, stages of forgiveness: acknowledge the hurt, consider how the hurt and pain has affected you, accept that you cannot change the past, determine whether you will forgive because that's a huge one. You got to determine whether you want to forgive,
That's right.
repair, learn, and then forgive. Stages of healing: surrendering to suffering, awareness leading to tolerance, confrontation of emotional blockage, inevitable expression, acceptance of feelings, and welcoming last chance, lasting change, and last chances. Ooh, those was
Mm,
deep, okay?
You
All
should post
right,
that
so,
on the page.
all right, I
'Cause
will.
that's
All right.
yeah.
So, ladies, this has been a great show. Thank you guys. Thank you, Ro, for
Thanks for
joining
having me.
us. We appreciate you for always joining, especially last minute. I
Mhm.
truly appreciate you. I know. But remember, guys, there's no competition in sisterhood, and always, always be willing to fix your sister's crown. I don't know if we will see you next week. But I believe so. It's my son's prom and it's his graduation, so I'm working on it. Okay, but see you guys soon. All right.